Black Ops 3 came out over 6 years ago now, back in 2015, and is still regarded by many people to this day as the best Call of Duty Zombies we have ever had, for the 6th year in a row. Now of course this is all just personal opinion. Since then we've had Black Ops 4 Zombies, Black Ops Cold War Zombies, and Call of Duty Vanguard Zombies. Each have their own different style, their own unique take. Black Ops 4 changed the perk system, Black Ops Cold War introduced a new way of leveling up, Vanguard so far, well, we'll just leave that one for now. For me, Black Ops 3 was the whole package. Probably the main reason why this is my favourite Zombies game and nothing's topped it since is because of the maps. And I'm not even talking about Zombies Chronicles, but I thought it would be interesting to go back and take a look as to why, for the majority of people, this is still, 6 years later, the best Zombies game ever. But just before I continue, I do want to mention that today's video is sponsored by NordVPN. What exactly is a VPN, I hear you ask? Well, VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, a service that protects your internet connection and privacy online. It creates an encrypted tunnel for your data, protects your online identity by hiding your IP address, and allows you to use public Wi-Fi hotspots safely. What does a VPN do? Well, typically when you try to access a website, your ISP, otherwise known as Internet Service Provider, receives the request and directs you to your destination. But when you connect to a VPN, it redirects your internet traffic through a VPN server first, before sending it over to your destination. NordVPN is one of the fastest VPNs in the world and helps you keep your internet speed almost not changed. It depends on your location and your ISP. Use NordLink's protocol, which ensures the best speed. NordVPN comes in handy for many different things. Want to find streaming platforms at a lower price? A platform isn't available in your country? Simply change your virtual location. It just takes a click, open the map, click on a location, and you'll be connected in seconds. It's as easy as that. Or say a game isn't available in your country, no problem, just change your virtual location and buy it. So if you are interested and do want to go ahead and get this for yourself, they are currently doing a Cyber Month deal, which offers 2 years plus 1 extra month for free, for a total discount of 73%. All you have to do is click the link down in the description, which can also be seen up on screen. Anyway, there we go, and thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring today's video. One of the great things about Black Ops 3 Zombies was, for the first time it felt the zombie side of the game was on the same level as multiplayer. Now you could say that was ramped up even further with Black Ops 4. The launch of that game had 4 maps on disc. Most of the promotion that we saw for BO4 was for zombies. The special edition of that game got a mystery box. Yes, Black Ops 3 did have the Juggernaut fridge, but for the beginning of Black Ops 4, it definitely felt like the zombie side of that game was being promoted more than the multiplayer, but you could tell that dropped off as we went through that game's life cycle. However, with Black Ops 3, from the beginning to the end, it was consistent. And you could even say, as we did get towards the end of Black Ops 3, Zombies was pushed even further with the release date of Zombies Chronicles. 8 more maps added to the game. Black Ops 3 Zombies had a lot of great features. By no means is it perfect. One thing about Black Ops 3 now, especially when you compare it to the newer games, Cold War or Vanguard, is the gameplay feels a lot more clunkier. I do prefer how the newer games feel to play. The movement system, killing zombies, is more satisfying. Black Ops 3 compared to now was more arcadey, which did also suit the setting of a zombies mode. I also think Black Ops 3 lacked in the perks department. Yes, it had all of the old OG perks that we were used to. It was the same perk system that we'd had since the beginning. In that sense, there was nothing wrong with it, but it didn't really innovate. Black Ops 3 only introduced one new perk, and that was right at the very beginning, which was Widow's Wine, which by the way I also think is a very underrated perk. Again, comparing that to Cold War, there's a massive difference. Obviously this game doesn't have the customization that newer games do, even compared to BO4, although that doesn't always mean it's better. It was the simplicity of Black Ops 3 for the time when it released during 2015, a simpler time in zombies history you could say. For that time, 6 years ago, comparing it to previous titles, it was for me much better than anything we'd seen to that date, and compared to newer titles, ones that preceded Black Ops 4, Cold War and Vanguard, it's still the best all-round zombies game. But this mainly comes down to 2 major factors: the maps, as I've mentioned, the Easter eggs, and the storyline, which all tie into other things such as the characters, wonder weapons, the trailers, the cutscenes were amazing. There's just so much to go through. And so one thing I wanted to do in this video was just go through each and every zombies map we got in this game, just talking about each one of them for a minute or two, and by doing this we'll cover everything else as well. And we start off with Shadows of Evil. Black Ops 3 released with 2 maps on disc, Shadows and the Giant. The Giant was a bonus map, Shadows came on disc, so this was the map that everyone could play on day one as soon as you purchased the game. I can remember, and I've specifically done a video on this very recently talking about the Call of Duty Zombies cycle, how every year when a new zombies game releases, the game, just like Vanguard, gets a lot of hate, although Vanguard's was on a different scale. It was drastically different to anything we'd seen before. The major difference being we now had alien type creatures in zombies, which we now know are called the apothecans, but at that time we didn't know. It was just so random and strange seeing aliens in this zombies mode. We had these two characters called Dr. Monty and the Shadow Man. The map itself was also pretty weird. We were able to turn into the beast and had to do these rituals in order to open up the Pack-a-Punch. It actually got a lot of hate for the first, I would say, month or two after it released until we got DLC 1, Der Eisendrache, and it was mainly because it was so different. And now here we are 6 years later, where Shadows of Evil is considered one of the best zombies maps of all time. It was definitely something we had to get used to, and that we did. But once you got over that hurdle and you came to terms with what zombies was becoming, it was moving more and more away from realism. Shadows of Evil gave us a new take on zombies. It took it from one level where the whole story was based around German experiments. There wasn't as much room for Treyarch to experiment because of this, whereas when they then took zombies into the realm of mythology, if you want to call it that, they could be so much more creative, and that's what Shadows was. The map is gorgeous, it might be one of the best looking. The main quest was okay, but the side Easter eggs were interesting. Of course, the wonder weapon was the Apothecon Servant, one of the main reasons why I love Shadows over a lot of others. It's difficult to point why, but I find I can play this a lot more than other maps. It's got a lot more replayability to it, but I can't exactly explain to you why that is, because gameplay wise it isn't much different. But overall, everything about this map is so good, and Treyarch just ramped things up to another level in their next map, which was Der Eisendrache. Again, for me, another top 3 map. One of the main things that stood out about this map was not only its aesthetics, the medieval castle in Austria, a giant robot laying broken in the town, dragon heads that come to life when you feed them zombies. Aesthetically, this is just as, if not better looking than Shadows. The blue tint that you have around this map with the floating debris in the 115 just adds to it, but probably the main standout was the wonder weapons, the bows. Very similar to the staffs in Origins. I think whenever you have a map that allows you and all of your friends, all 4 people, to get wonder weapons, it makes it a lot more fun. But again, the Easter eggs, the storyline, learning more about the premise characters Richtof and Taki Nikolai Dempsey, which by this time was still pretty new to us. They were only first introduced in Origins 3 maps before. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Eisendrache is in everyone's top 5. I don't need to talk about how good this map is. And we then had Zetsubounoshima. Now this is probably the point in Black Ops 3 where, for the first time, zombies took a little bit of a drop. Now, part of this isn't to do with Zetsubo at all, but it was actually how long we had to wait to get DLC 3. It felt like there was such a long time between Der Eisendrache and Zetsubo that by the time this map came around, I don't know what it was, but people either weren't as excited for it dragged out, or the hype built up too early. But the map came out, it had an average reception. Usually when you have a bad map, after a few years pass, you go back and think, actually that was a lot better than I remember. But after going back to play Zetsubounoshima for this video, I still think what I thought about it back then, which was, it was okay. I'm not saying it was bad, it was definitely good, but compared to everything else that we had in Black Ops 3, it just wasn't on the same level. What was it that a lot of people don't like about Zetsubo is something I still struggle to put my finger on. Possibly the design of the map. I know the Pack-a-Punch system is a little bit of a pain. In fact, opening up the whole map, especially having to activate both generators, turn on the power, is a little bit annoying. The boss fight I also thought was a little bit of a letdown. Seeing Takeo turned into a giant thrasher, yes, for storyline people that's cool, but if you're not interested in the story, it's just a giant version of something that's already in the map that you're fighting regularly, which are thrashers, which you could say the same for Der Eisendrache's boss fight as well, but that had a lot more to it. The wonder weapon, the KT-4, was a worse version of the Sliquifier. The spiders were pretty cool, it was different, but yeah, I didn't really know how to explain Zetsubo. It was a pretty good map, but not up to the standard that Black Ops 3 set up to that point or after. And what followed that? It was Gorod. Without a doubt, the best intro cinematic, a fantastic looking map. The dragons took zombies to yet another level, something I didn't think could surpass Shadows. We went from aliens to dragons. The map itself, the layout, I always found a little bit boring, but it was the aesthetics of Gorod that always kept me playing. The wonder weapon, the Ray Gun Mark III, it wasn't something that got me excited, but still a good wonder weapon. I do think the mini bosses, so the manglers or the drones, were pretty annoying. I know for a lot of people Gorod Karovi is their favourite map. I've always thought it was good, but for one reason or another, I could never connect with it in the same way that a lot of people did. That being said, because Black Ops 3 just set such a high level in terms of maps, it's still an 8 out of 10. And that leaves us with the final on-disc map, which was Revelations. Now, because this is a mixture of everything we've seen in zombies before, parts of previous maps, also the same wonder weapons we've seen, the Thundergun and the Apothecon Servant, there's not really too much to say on it. The idea of having a map that connected all of the other maps together, when we first heard about this, everyone was so excited. But when it came out, I think the execution was, I don't know, maybe our expectations were too high. We just expected something a little bit more. But for one reason or another, I didn't feel like I played this map already. Even though it was a lot of reused things, it was still very fun. If you get over the fact that, well, let's not even talk about the Easter egg steps. The ending cutscene with Dr. Monty, the cycle, was very controversial. I can remember during that time, the streams that YouTubers were doing, the amount of people watching them complete the final Easter egg with Black Ops 3. If I'm not wrong in saying, these were the highest numbers ever. To have that amount of interest at the end of a game is unusual when you compare that to the end of Black Ops 4 or Cold War. The amount of interest that was still there all the way through Black Ops 3's life cycle to the end in Revelations, it was insane. And it's sort of strange because Revelations is nowhere near a perfect map, but it was still just good. And it was a great way, now that we look back up on it and we know what that ending means, to finish that game. And obviously after that we had Zombies Chronicles. Remakes of all of our old maps, so Nectar and Totem, Verrückt, Shinonuma, Kino, Ascension, Shangri-La, Moon and Origins. Every remake was perfect, and even if you didn't get to play them during that time, or you still haven't to this day, if you're on Twitter you will see so many people asking Treyarch for a Zombies Chronicles 2, which just tells you how good the original was. Yeah, if Black Ops 3 wasn't good enough already in its normal cycle, Zombies Chronicles was the icing on the cake. And that's why, for me, 6 years later, Black Ops 3 Zombies is still relevant. You compare that to Black Ops 4, BO2, BO1. Yes, there are people that play them, there are people that stream them on Twitch or upload videos on them games now and again, but what you see of those games is nothing in comparison to Black Ops 3. 6 years later, and the amount of interest for this game, still, it's unreal. So yeah, there we go. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. What is your favourite Zombies game from World at War up until now? If you've enjoyed the video, if it's been a trip down memory lane, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.